Frog in my throat. Hello, everybody. Off to a good start. So, hi. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Lindsey Hall, and I am an intimacy and empowerment coach. And I specialize in helping women through the divorce process, but that is by no means all that I do. And really, what I stand for, and like all of the work that I do, is about helping women really deepen into intimacy with themselves, first and foremost, and then with others, and really own their power and their pleasure and live a joyful life that they fucking love. Like, I want to take women from feeling like, oh, is this it? To, oh my God, look at all of this. So that is really what's behind all of the work I do and why I do it. To help women like really feel empowered and pleasurable and lit the fuck up about their lives. So to say all of that, ooh, hello. So I do these tea break chats every week, and I always start off with like a bit of life chat about what's been going on in my life for the last week, kind of what's come up, what I've been dealing with, lessons, stories, whatever, and then I answer questions that you guys have sent me. So, and of course, every week I go, what has happened this week? Because I haven't necessarily pre-planned this. But I think this week what I want to talk about is my social media hiatus that I took this weekend. So, if you are in my world and watch my stories and see my posts, you know that I am here a lot on social media. Like, I'm in my stories all the time. I post every day. Like, I show up here a lot. And I love it. And I love that sharing. And I love that connection. But then sometimes it gets to be a bit much. And so this weekend, I really wanted to focus on, I had the girls all weekend, and I wanted some downtime, some intentional kind of sacred rest time. And it was amazing. Like, it felt so much better than I even like knew that I needed. And so I just want to talk a little bit about like why it felt so good and what kind of came up for me during that time. Because there was a few lessons that after I was processing it all on Monday, like I thought it was just going to be like, oh, it'll be nice to just, have some phone free time. Because it wasn't just social media. I tried to stay off my phone as much as I could. But what was I saying? Oh, brain like Swiss cheese today. So I tried to stay off my phone. And then I was processing it on Monday and thought like, it was just going to be what it was and I'm back on my phone. But actually like lots of stuff came into my head of like, oh, that was interesting. Oh, I didn't notice that. So I thought I would just share some of those aha moments. So one of which was fairly obvious, which I thought would come up of like, just how much time I spend on social media. And I did look back, actually. You can see this all the time, but on Instagram, you can look at your activity, and it'll show you how long you've been on every day. And I don't usually look at that, but I did, and it turns out, so I'm on most days between like 2 and 2.5 hours I spend on Instagram. And I don't know if you can check it on Facebook, I haven't, but I spend more time on Insta than I do on Facebook, but there's also some Facebook time in there. That's a lot. Now, bear in mind that a lot of my business is on here, so that's not just like digging around time. That is also counts as work time, and it's talking to all of you guys and connecting and like doing all the stuff that's part of my job. But it's also a bunch of digging around time. There's also like the numbly scrolling and like just not really actually doing anything of intention or value. So most of the time, like I said, it's like between 2 and 2.5 hours. And then this weekend, so I knew that I still wanted to do the posts that I had planned. So I'd already, I knew what I wanted to share over the weekend. So I was like, I'm just going to go on and share those. And so I was on for 10 minutes both days, which is a huge difference. That's like so much time that I got back in my day. But then I also noticed that I use social media as a time filler. So like when I pick up my phone, I click on Instagram and I click on Facebook and I look at my notifications. It's habit. So I had to actually delete both of the icons off of my home screen on my phone. I didn't delete the entire app, so I could still go into the full list and get them. But I deleted them off my home screen. And so many times I would kind of go to reach for my phone and be like, no, you're staying off of it. I actually put my phone in the other room or upstairs. So I didn't do that out of habit. But good grief, that is an ingrained habit. And then also, so when I went on both days to check, I checked my notifications and I checked messages and I could do those interactions in that time, not as deeply. So I definitely, don't want to be I only do 10 minutes a day every day because I can't actually really truly connect with you guys during that time, which is what I love to do. It's why I'm here. But I could do like certainly a basic level of it. And so I realized that actually I spend a lot of time on my phone during the day. Like when I put up a post, I spend a lot of time then checking to see who's liked it. And it's not even like, I know we hear about, using the number of likes as validation, and it doesn't necessarily feel that way to me. It doesn't feel like I know perfectly well that I can have some really amazing posts that don't get a lot of likes because they don't necessarily all invite likes. And especially I talk about, especially when I'm talking about divorce or I'm talking about deeply personal things, people don't always like or comment or share or save. They're like, they see it and they're like, oh, and then, it's like inside as opposed to like doing an external reaction thing. So I know that the number of engagements on my post does not necessarily indicate like the impact that it's having. So it's not like I don't feel like I'm using it for validation in that sense, but I do notice that I do it. It's like every time you see a little like or a comment, it's like this mini dopamine hit in your brain, and it's like zing, zing, zing. So I will like stalk my own posts and stalk my own stories to be like, give me a little zing, give me a little zing. Oh, somebody else saw it, give me a little zing. Not a great place to be. And because it keeps you in that kind of like mode. And really what I found over the weekend when I wasn't doing that was it allowed me to slow down and really get more present and more into my body and present with the girls and into what we're doing. And like calming your nervous system so you're not in that like constant dopamine like ding 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 really makes a big difference. It also, I just lost my train of thought again. There was another thing I was gonna say. Oh yeah. So I also realized that I have a little bit, and it's better than it kind of used to be at one point, I guess. But I have a little bit of like pick or it didn't happen sort of mentality. So when I am doing things, there's a little bit of me that feels like if I don't share it with somebody, if somebody else doesn't witness it or hear about it, or somehow another adult human knows about this thing that I'm doing, like, did it really happen? Does it really count? Does it so this feeling of like, if I don't share what I'm doing, then it's like it never happened, or it doesn't count somehow. So it really helped me remember that and these are pieces, all of this is stuff that like I've worked on before. And I think I've talked before about how growth is cyclical, but it's not just like a circle like this, it's a spiral. So you come to the same growth things again and again, but from a new level, from new experiences, from new depth. So like all of this stuff I have done and addressed before, but this weekend really like opened that up again of like, wait a second, no, the things that I am doing and the things that I'm doing because I enjoy them for my own pleasure, or just, it's just things me and the girls are doing, they count and they matter because they count and they matter to me. It's not because I need somebody else to see them or to validate them or to like witness them to make them real. They count because they matter to me. And again, I like I said at the beginning of this, I love to share all this stuff. I am here to share, to connect, to help other people feel like they're not alone, to give insights into some people are like, oh, me too. Oh, I recognize that. Oh, I resonate with that. It's about connection. And we as humans are absolutely hardwired for connection. Like I'm here for the connection always in real life and online. Like we need it to survive. So I am not being like, we should all be islands with no connection with other people. No, you would die if you were an actual island. But that said, there's still a lot to be learned and remembered about, but my pleasure doesn't have to be shared with other people for it to be real. Like I can do these things just because I want to do them. And I was just about to give you some examples of what I was doing at the weekend, but I'm not going to tell you the examples because I'm keeping it. Like I just did those things for me because I wanted to and because they were fun to me. And so it just helped me really kind of, revisit this idea that like the stuff that I do and the pleasure that I find and the places I go and the things I see, yes, there is added element when you share it with somebody else or share it on the internet or whatever it is. But also they have inherent worth because they are worthy to me and because I am inherently worthy of all of these things. So it was a cool reminder of that because, again, we can get caught up in this like picture or it didn't happen thing. And, I even like jokingly said it to somebody last week. They were telling me about something they had done. And I was like, oh, picture it didn't happen. And I mean, I was joking, but also it's like, but that sometimes can feel quite real. So that is what, hi Claire. So that's what came up, I guess, in my 48 hours off of social media and off of my phone. I feel like there was another thing too. Please hold. No, that's mainly what I can think of right now. So, yes, that was it. So I will definitely be doing that again because I think it just, like I said, it was really helpful to notice these things that came up as a result. So it was just an experiment, really. Well, no, it wasn't even an experiment. It was just I'd had a big couple weeks. I'd been feeling very visible and very out there. Hello, Daisy. I've been feeling very visible and very out there and then when I had the girls, when I do stay off my phone a bit more when I've got the girls anyway, like I try to, but I knew that I just needed some downtime. So it wasn't, I had no idea that like all these things were going to pop up. But now that I know that all these things popped up, I'm definitely going to do it some more and take really like intentional phone-free time and really allow myself to have that time where I'm not like stalking who's looking at my stories and the likes and like getting those little dopamine hits going ding, ding, ding all the time. I'm really going to spend some more time soaking into like, no, I can just be present in my surroundings, let my body calm down, my nervous system calm down after all those like ding, ding, ding hits, and just get more grounded and more present with the time around me here with like, physical beings. And then when I do show up online, I get to show up with a lot more intention. That was the other thing I was going to say. Was about it being intentional. So rather than like the mindless scrolling, which we can all get caught up in sometimes, I want to spend the time that I am online being much more intentional about it and like, interacting with people who I'm choosing to interact with, not just like blindly clicking and scrolling and not even interacting because I'm just in like, explore the reels section. And so it's about being intentional at the time. So that was the other thing that came up. Okay, I think that was it. Was there anything else about this week I want to talk about? That's probably it. I've been creating a new program, which I'm very excited about. I'll tell you a little bit more at the end, but as a result of the blowjob class that I've talked about on here for like the last, 3 weeks now, and I've told you all how like big things have come up out of it. Well, there's a new program coming up as a result of the blowjob class. And oh my gosh, is it amazing. And I am totally loving that people are like referring to me as the blowjob coach now. And I did not see that coming in a million years. Had you told me that people would be calling me the blowjob coach, I'd be like, I'm sorry, you must be talking about somebody else. And in fact, my friend Daisy, who is watching this, can verify that when I actually first sent her the link for the blowjob class, she messaged me on WhatsApp and was like, "Wait, you've been hacked. Like somebody just messaged me from your account saying you're teaching a blowjob class." And I was like, no, I really am. But that's how like unlike previous version of Lindsey it is that like the people who know me are like, this can't possibly be her. And I was like, it is me. So that's why I've been talking about it loads, because it was like this really big thing. And as a result, and like all of the great conversations that come out of it, there is now a new program coming up, and I will share the details with you soon. Daisy, it's always going to be my favorite story. So yes, I will share the details soon with this new program, but stay tuned to watch because it will be on. I will do posts about this time. It's not going to be as secret as the blowjob one, whereas I didn't share the blowjob until after it was done. I will actually tell you about this new program, but if you want to know all the details right now ahead of time, send me a message and I'll let you know early. Okay, so on to the question part. I've got a really good question today. It's a really good question, but also one that is so tricky to answer in like, a short, concise time period like this. So I will try my best, but it is a very big question. And the question is, where do you start with step one of getting divorced? And where is the how-to manual on all of this? And it made me laugh because I was like, that is a darn good question. But like I said, it's a big question and it's hard to answer in just this. And it's obviously, the basis of a lot of what I do. So to start with, I would say though, it depends on what your step one is. So without knowing kind of like where you are with like step one can mean a whole range of different things. From like what even was my step one? The thing that immediately comes to mind for me with my step one was the day that my ex and I went to couples therapy for the first time, and we sat in couples therapy. I thought to like address, our marital problems and how to move forward. And towards the end of the session, the therapist said, Lindsey, I'm concerned because it's clear that you guys, like, he wants a divorce. And we hadn't mentioned the word divorce up until this point, but she's like, it's clear that this isn't going to work. And I'm concerned that you don't seem to have accepted that divorce is coming. She didn't say it exactly like that, but it was pretty like, she told us she could see that like, he wasn't in this anymore. Divorce is happening. And I was like, it's what? And actually, we got home that day. We drove home and my neighbors were outside and we got out of the car and they were like, oh, hi guys, how are you? And I was like, he wants to divorce me. I'm like, ran in the house and slammed the door. And I can only imagine, and my husband at the time was still standing outside. I can only imagine they were all like, what? So maybe that was my step one. I don't know. There was obviously, a whole bunch of stuff that led up to that, and then a whole bunch of stuff after that. So it depends, like, when you say, how do you start from step one? Where is the starting journey? But no matter what, wherever you are, so maybe it's that, maybe it's the first realization of like, oh shit, we might be getting divorced. Or maybe it's like the first thought in your head of like, do I want to get divorced? If you're instigating it. Or maybe it's like, okay, we have decided and, now we are going ahead with it. Or, so it totally depends. But some of the first steps that I would say would be really letting yourself feel the emotions, whatever they are, because they're going to happen. They're going to change a lot. Sometimes you might feel totally fine. Sometimes you might feel like a puddle on the floor. And so really starting to get okay with not being okay, get okay with knowing that there's going to be like a lot of emotions coming. And, I've definitely talked to a lot of women who are like, no, like I feel fine about this. Like, this decision's been a long time coming. And now that we've made the decision, like I feel really grounded in it. And like, I honestly feel fine. I don't think people keep saying I'm going to be upset. I don't think I'm going to. And I'm like, okay. And then sure enough, every single person hits the point where they're like, oh, this is awful. And that's because the emotions all come at some point or another. So understanding that. Another big important step is really learning how to set boundaries. And this is way easier said than done. And like I was just talking to somebody yesterday who was, so she and her, well, they are currently still technically married, and they're living in the same house, but they reached the divorce decision 6 months ago, I think, 5-6 months ago. And they're moving into different houses 3 weeks from now. But so they're still in the same house and things are really tricky right now. There's a lot of upheaval. There's a lot of emotions flying high. And communication is tough between them. And dating while they're still in the same house is proving tricky, like dating other people. And her conclusion was, well, this is just going to have to suck until I move out in 3 weeks. Like I'm going to have to feel awful until I move out. And I was talking to her about putting boundaries in place and communication boundaries and because the big question was coming up about where she was, who she was with, when was she on a date, and he would flip out if she was on a date and all of these things. And she would try and figure out what answer was going to appease him the most, because sometimes he was okay with her dating and sometimes he wasn't, he being her soon-to-be ex-husband, if that wasn't clear. And so she was trying to figure out like what answer would not prompt a blow up because things feel so volatile right now. And I was talking to her about setting these boundaries and saying it doesn't matter who you're with or where you're going. You don't have to pick and choose which times you give him an answer and which times you don't. You can say, when I'm with you and the kids, I will let you know. But other than that, where I am and who I'm with is none of your concern. I'm not sharing these personal details anymore. It doesn't stop him from asking, but you get to stick with that over and over and over and over and say, what I do in my personal time is not up to you. If I'm going to be here with you and the kids, I will let you know. And other than that, it's not for you to know. And what her ex was saying, and it's the same thing that I had a lot, was like, but if your friend would answer, if your friend asked you this, you would say, or that's not how you treat your friends. And my go-to that I used over and over and over and over was, we are friendly, we are not friends. And there is a difference there. And that can be really hard. And when I was having this conversation with her, she was very resistant to it. She was like, oh God, that's going to, it's going to piss him off even more. And I still, although I want to say I don't care about his emotional reactions, I do. I don't want these big emotional eruptions, and I would like to keep the peace. And I know it's going to upset him more. And I hear what you're saying, Lindsey, but also I don't want to do it because that sounds hard. And so I get it. I really get it. And it takes time. And I had to do this over and over and over and over again of holding that same line and being like, where I'm going and who I'm with is not your concern. We are friendly. We are not friends. I don't owe you any details of my personal life. And I would say that regardless of whether I was, and honestly, because at the time, so my ex was hyped up because he thought I was going on dates. So that's why he was all like, she can't go on dates. I wasn't. I was nowhere near dating at this point in time. But he didn't need to know that. So even when I was going to the grocery store, or I was going on a walk with my best friend, a girl, or I was just going to sit in the park on my own, it didn't matter. I held the line of I'm not telling you who I'm with or where I'm going because it doesn't matter. And I knew that someday I was going to want to go on dates. But that's what I was I'm not saying the precedent of I'll tell you where I'm going now because it's the grocery store. And then later when it comes to a date, then I have to be secretive. I was just I'm just flat out not telling you. It's not your business anymore. And so it took a lot of practice and a lot of holding over and over, but it made a huge difference. Huge, huge, huge. So all of that was a very long-winded way of saying that at the start of the process, I advocate strongly for just getting comfortable with the fact that big emotions are going to happen. I advocate very strongly for setting boundaries, maintaining boundaries, even when they're hard, even when they're going to cause short-term disruption, because the benefit in the long term will be so worth it, both for you and for your relationship with your ex. I don't know if the person who's asking this question has kids or not. So if you don't, then it might be that there kind of is no ongoing relationship with the ex. But if you do have kids and you're going to be co-parenting, then this is where this can come in, big useful in the future. Because with my ex, I knew that we were not done. We were creating a new co-parenting relationship going forward, and we were going to need to, set how that looked. So I was, from very early on, I was this is how it's going to look. I don't tell you the details of my personal life. That's that. Is there anything else I suggest right at the very beginning of it all? Those are the biggest ones to start with, honestly. And I would be totally remiss if I didn't tell you that this is exactly what my divorcing program is for. So I've got the divorcee, and in there is the doubting phase, but like I said, it depends on where your step one is. So if step one for you is still am I coming or am I going? Am I staying in this marriage or are we breaking up? Then the doubting phase is exactly what you will be looking for. If you're already in the it's happening, then it's the divorcing. And I cover some of these things in the lessons, but also this is exactly what the one-to-one coaching is for with me as well. We could really dive into what step you are at and how to do these, how to set those boundaries, how to handle the big emotions. I honestly think, if I can honestly say what's the first step in the divorcing program, what's the first step in divorce and where's the how-to manual and all of this, it's getting yourself support. I really, really should start with that. It's getting yourself some support. And I don't just mean getting yourself a lawyer. In fact, we only used a lawyer for filling out the financial paperwork. We did not use a lawyer for coming up with any agreements or anything else. Now, I know that's not for everyone. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. But what I'm saying is when I say get yourself some support, a lot of people think that means get yourself a lawyer. What I mean is get yourself some emotional support. Make sure you've got a strong support network around you. If you want somebody like a coach like me, I'm absolutely here for that, because it is so invaluable when going through this. Like, this is really hard shit. There's no other way around it. Even people who have like the best divorces, it can still bring up a lot of hard shit. So get yourself support, whatever that looks like, but I am totally here as an option for it. So please send me a message if you want to explore that some more, because I can absolutely talk you through what that could look like, and we can figure out what's best for you. So not to be like a hard sales or anything, but I just want you to know that that is totally an option. It is what I'm here for. I help women through their divorces in a way that feels less sucky than it might otherwise feel. Funnily enough, it's not quite what my website says, but that is the gist of it. Like, how to make it less sucky. So I think that's everything for today. Is there anything else? I don't think so. So I will wrap up, and so that was kind of my divorcee pitch, so I won't do that again. But the details are on my website, lindseyhallcoaches.com. I also do one-to-one coaching, which you can do with me. There's the mini package, which is 3 sessions for £444, or there's the luxury 3-month package, which is like obviously the best. And that is 3 months of 3 calls, plus you get Voxer support, which is where we text and voice note. And so you basically get coaching like all week long. So much magic happens in the Voxer. Like, that is like tons happens on our calls, but then so much happens in between too. So I always vote for the luxury package, obviously, because you get so much more from it. So that is £667 a month. Let me know if you want in for that. The blowjob class is still available. I'm going to keep talking about that because I am apparently Lindsey Hall, the blowjob coach, and I am going to own that shit. So I don't have that link posted publicly, but if you want to, oh, that's not true. If you scroll back through my posts to the one where I'm like, then the link is in the comments there. But send me a message and I can send you the link for the blowjob class. That's only £14. Like, that was a super cheap, super fun. Like, so many people have said that they absolutely loved it. So you can get that for £14. There's the new one coming up that I've been teasing about. Send me a message if you want the details right away. Otherwise, they're going to come out soon. Are there any other ways to work with me right now? I think that's it. Does that seem sufficient? You can always binge the backlog of these tea break chats every week. There's a YouTube video I did with a friend recently. I can send you a link for YouTube. Like, you can get your fix of Lindsey Hall all over the place. All over the place. So if you have any questions for me for next week, because I will be here next week as well, I do it every week, you can look for my story box on Tuesday. I always put up stories to say, ask me your questions. Or if you think of something in the meantime, you can send me a message and I will save it. I will try to remember to save it in the right place where I'll remember to answer it. But you can send me a message in between. If you've got any comments that you want to continue the conversation, drop a comment in here. Let me know what your favorite part was. Send me a message if you want to talk about these options anymore. I'm here for all the things. If you haven't figured that out by now, I am here for all of the things, all of the connection. I love talking to you guys. I love finding out what's going on in your life. I love sharing what's going on in my life. Like, I'm here. Let's connect. Let's make it fun. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to go pick up my girls from school and then take Evie for her preschool vaccinations, which I think is the big one. I think there's like multiple shots today. So wish me luck on that. And then I will see you all next week. Okay, love you lots. Mwah. Bye.